turned cold. Even the birds stopped singing. They wouldn't eat bread or meat, only raw beans. They screamed at sunlight, whispering strange words no one could understand. Days later, the boy's color began to fade, his eyes dimming. That night, villagers swore they heard bells echoing through the mist. The girl survived and learned to speak. She said they came from a land of eternal twilight, a place where the sun never rose and everything glowed green. She and her brother followed the sound of bells into a cave, but when they stepped out, the light burned their eyes, and the way home was gone. Years later, as she lay dying, her voice trembled. "Can you hear them? The bells. They're calling me back." Microphone # Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only remembered. Did you know, in 1947, a Texas family vanished overnight, leaving their dinner still warm on the table? Forks midair, candles still burning, but no one left to blow them out. They were the Burrows family, and their farmhouse sat miles from anyone. When the sheriff arrived, he found the front door locked from the inside, chairs overturned, and claw marks down the hallway, human and desperate. For weeks, the father, Thomas Burrows, had been digging a well behind the house. He told neighbors he could hear something down there, something moving. That night, he kept digging, even after the sun went down. The neighbors heard screams. Then, a strange low humming, deep, mechanical, coming from the earth itself. By morning, the Burrows were gone. When deputies searched the house, they found muddy footprints leading to the well and stopping right at the edge. Inside, the walls weren't dirt. They were smooth, black stone, carved with twisting symbols that pulsed when the flashlight hit them. They filled it with concrete. But on hot summer nights, locals swear they still hear it. That same hum, like metal grinding under the soil. And if you stand too close, the ground vibrates, like something alive, still waiting to come back up. Did you know there's a creek in Hollow County where the water breathes smoke? Locals call it the Ash Lady's Creek because everyone who's tried to pollute it never came back the same. Years ago, a young environmental worker named Evelyn Moore discovered the truth. The local chemical plant was poisoning Hollow Creek. She begged them to stop, but greed runs deeper than water. One stormy night, she rushed into the plant, trying to shut off the leaking pipes. And then, boom, an explosion lit up the sky like hell itself. When the fire died, Evelyn was gone. All they found were ashes and a melted badge with her name. Days later, the creek turned black. Fish floated belly up. And at night, people swore they saw a woman's shadow rising from the water, her eyes glowing through the mist, her skin dripping ash. One worker dipped his hand in the creek, not knowing he had just signed his death warrant. The next morning, his skin blistered with black fingerprints that wouldn't wash off. They say Evelyn's spirit still guards the creek she died to protect. Every ripple is her whisper, every reflection, her warning. And if you ever see smoke drifting across still water, don't look too close, because the Ash Lady is still watching. Did you know, in 1947, a photographer named Elliot Crane captured a picture so terrifying, the town that hired him burned every copy? He was sent to photograph the ruins left by the drought, ghost towns, empty churches, places swallowed by dust. But one night, he found the Bellamy House, a mansion locals swore was cursed. They said, anyone who looks into its mirrors never looks away again. Elliot didn't listen. He stepped inside, the air heavy, the walls breathing. In the corner stood a cracked mirror, clean as if waiting for him. He raised his camera. Click. A flash, and behind him, a figure, pale skin, hollow eyes, grinning wide enough to tear. But when he turned, no one was there. When he developed the photo, he saw faces, dozens of them, twisted, screaming, all staring from that same mirror. Days later, they found his camera in the dirt. The last photo, Elliot, inside the mirror, smiling back. And they say, if lightning flashes while you're looking in a mirror, don't blink. You might not see your face anymore. Did you know, in the scorching summer of 1947, a small Texas town was dying of thirst? The earth split open, animals rotted where they fell, and the smell of death hung over every field. One man, Harlan Briggs, prayed every night for rain. But what came wasn't heaven's mercy. One night, thunder rolled without clouds. Harlan stumbled into his field and found a single grain sprout rising from soil soaked in blood. The next morning, his crops were alive again, but his wife was gone. Only her wedding ring remained, buried among the roots. The whispers came next. They called to him from the corn, soft, feed us. Harlan, feed us flesh. At first, he offered animals, then strangers, then anyone who asked where the water came from. Neighbors noticed his corn glistened red under the sun, each stalk thick as bone. They thought it was a miracle until they found what grew beneath. Faces twisted and half buried, mouths open as if still screaming. By autumn, Harlan was gone. The field stood tall, alive, swaying to a wind that smelled like meat. And they say, if you walk near the old Briggs farm today, the ground still breathes. Beneath the soil, something is still eating. Did you know sometimes the things we leave behind are never truly forgotten? Mia found an old porcelain doll in the attic. Its cracked face and faded dress seeming harmless, but by morning it had moved just a little closer to her bed. She told herself it was wind or her imagination. Night after night, it crept nearer. Shadows in her room twisted unnaturally. Whispers filled the silence, soft at first, then urgent, calling her name. Every corner of the room seemed alive, watching. Her heart raced, each creak of the floorboard echoing like a warning. She tried to hide it, lock it away, but the doll always returned, always closer, always staring. One night, she finally reached for it. Its glassy eyes locked with hers, cold, empty, and merciless. A chill ran through her, freezing her in place. Not just waiting, it had been playing. Some say dolls hold memories. Some say they hold souls, and some hold something far worse. Now, every flicker of the lights, every shadow in her room whispers the same terrifying truth. You're never alone in your own home. Did you know two green-skinned children once appeared out of nowhere in a quiet village. No one knew their names, their language, or what world they came from. It was the 12th century. Farmers heard soft cries coming from an old wolf pit and found two small figures crawling out. Their skin pale green, their eyes wide with fear. The air turned cold. Even the birds stopped singing. They wouldn't eat bread or meat, only raw beans. They screamed at sunlight, whispering strange words no one could understand. Days later, the boy's colour began to fade, his eyes dimming. That night, villagers swore they heard bells echoing through the mist. The girl survived and learned to speak. She said they came from a land of eternal twilight, a place where the sun never rose and everything glowed green. She and her brother followed the sound of bells into a cave, but when they stepped out, the light burned their eyes, and the way home was gone. Years later, as she lay dying, her voice trembled. Can you hear them? The bells, they're calling me back. Microphone hash and mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only remembered. Did you know in 1947 a Texas family vanished overnight, leaving their dinner still warm on the table, forks mid-air, candles still burning, but no one left to blow them out. They were the Burrows family, and their farmhouse sat miles from anyone. When the sheriff arrived, he found the front door locked from the inside, chairs overturned, and claw marks down the hallway, human and desperate. For weeks, the father, Thomas Burrows, had been digging a well behind the house. He told neighbours he could hear something down there, something moving. That night, he kept digging, even after the sun went down. The neighbours heard screams. Then, a strange low humming, deep, mechanical, coming from the earth itself. By morning, the Burrows were gone. When deputies searched the house, they found muddy footprints leading to the well and stopping right at the edge. Inside, walls weren't dirt. They were smooth, black stone, carved with twisting symbols that pulsed when the flashlight hit them. They filled it with concrete, but on hot summer nights, Locals swear they still hear it. That same hum, like metal grinding under the soil. And if you stand too close, the ground vibrates like something alive, still waiting to come back up. Did you know there's a creek in Hollow County where the water breathes smoke? Locals call it the Ash Lady's Creek because everyone who's tried to pollute it never came back the same. Years ago, a young environmental worker named Evelyn Moore discovered the truth. The local chemical plant was poisoning Hollow Creek. She begged them to stop, but greed runs deeper than water. One stormy night, she rushed into the plant, trying to shut off the leaking pipes, and then, boom, an explosion lit up the sky like hell itself. When the fire died, Evelyn was gone. All they found were ashes and a melted badge with her name. Days later, the creek turned black. Fish floated belly up, and at night, people swore they saw a woman's shadow rising from the water. Her eyes glowing through the mist, her skin dripping ash. One worker dipped his hand in the creek, not knowing he had just signed his death warrant. The next morning, his skin blistered with black fingerprints that wouldn't wash off. They say Evelyn's spirits still guards the creek she died to protect. Every ripple is a whisper. Every reflection, her warning. And if you ever see smoke drifting across still water, don't look too close, because the Ash Lady is still watching. Did you know in 1947 a photographer named Elliot Crane captured a picture so terrifying that found that hired him and every copy. He was sent to photograph the ruins left by the drought, ghost towns, empty churches, places swallowed by dust. But one night, he found the Bellamy House, a mansion locals swore who looks into its mirror never looks away again. Elliot didn't listen. He stepped inside. The air heavy. The walls breathing. In the corner stood a cracked mirror, clean as if waiting for him. He raised his camera. Flick. A flash, and behind him a figure, pale skin, hollow eyes, grinning wide enough to tear. But when he turned, no one was there. When he developed the photo, he saw faces, dozens of them, twisted, screaming, all staring from that same mirror. Days later, they found his camera in the dirt. The last photo. Elliot inside the mirror, smiling back. And they say, if lightning flashes while you're looking in a mirror, don't blink. You might not see your face anymore. Did you know, in the scorching summer of 1947, a small Texas town was dying of thirst? The earth split open, animals rotted where they fell, and the smell of death hung over every field. One man, Harlan Briggs, prayed every night for rain. But what came wasn't heaven's mercy. One night, thunder rolled without clouds. Harlan stumbled into his field and found a single green sprout rising from soil soaked in blood. The next morning, his crops were alive again, but his wife was gone. Only her wedding ring remained, buried among the roots. The whispers came next. They called to him from the corn, soft, hungry voices saying, "Feed us, Harlan, feed us flesh." At first, he offered animals, then strangers, then who asked where the water came from. Neighbors noticed his corn glistened red under the sun, each stalk thick as bone. They thought it was a miracle until they found what grew beneath. Faces twisted and half buried, mouths open as if still screaming. By autumn, Harlan was gone. The fields stood tall, alive, swaying to a wind that smelled like meat. And they say, if you walk near the old Briggs farm today, the ground still breathes. Beneath the soil, something is still eating. Did you know? Sometimes the things we leave behind and never truly forgotten. Mia found an old porcelain doll in the attic. Its cracked face, faded dress seeming harmless. But by morning, it had moved just a little closer to her bed. She told herself it was the wind or her imagination. Night after night, it crept nearer. Shadows in her room twisted unnaturally. Whispers filled the silence. Soft burst, then urgent, calling her name. Every corner of the room seemed alive, watching. Her heart raced. Each creak of the floorboard echoing like a warning. She tried to hide it, lock it away, but the doll always returned, always closer, always staring. One night, she finally reached for it. Its glassy eyes locked with hers, cold, empty, and merciless. A chill ran through her, freezing her in place. Not just waiting, it had been planning. Some say dolls hold memories. Some say they hold souls. And some hold something far worse. Now, every flicker of the lights, every shadow in her room whispers the same terrifying truth. You're never alone in your own home. Did you know two green-skinned children once appeared out of nowhere in a quiet English village? No one knew their names, their language, or what world they came from. It was the 12th century. Farmers heard soft cries coming from an old wolf pit and found two small figures crawling out, their skin pale green, their eyes wide with fear. The air turned cold. Even the birds stopped singing. Wouldn't eat bread or meat, only raw beans. They screamed at sunlight, whispering strange words days later, the boy's color began to fade, his eyes dimming. That night, villagers swore they heard bells echoing through the mist. The girls survived and learned to speak. She said they came from a land of eternal twilight, a place where the sun never rose, and everything glowed green. She and her brother followed the sound of bells into a cave. But when they stepped out, the light burned their eyes, and the way home was gone. Years later, as she lay dying, her voice trembled. Can you hear them? The bells. They're calling me back. Microphone hash some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Only remember it. Did you know in 1947 a Texas family vanished overnight, leaving their dinner still warm on the table? Forks mid-air, candles still burning, but no one left to blow them out. They were the Burroughs family, and their farmhouse sat miles from anyone. When the sheriff arrived, he found the front door locked from the inside, chairs overturned, and claw marks down the hallway. Human and desperate. For weeks, the father, Thomas Burroughs, had been digging a well behind the house. He told neighbors he could hear something down there, something moving. That night, he kept digging, even after the sun went down. The neighbors heard screams. Then, a strange low humming, deep, mechanical, coming from the earth itself. By morning, the Burroughs were gone. Deputies searched the house. They found muddy footprints leading to the well and stopping right at the edge. Inside, the walls weren't dirt. They were smooth, like stone, carved with twisting symbols that pulsed when the flashlight hit them. They filled it with concrete. But on hot summer nights, locals swear they still hear it. That same hum, like metal grinding under the soil. And if you stand too close, the ground vibrates like something alive, still waiting to come back up. Did you know there's a creek in Hollow County where the water breathes smoke? Locals call it the Ash Lady's Creek because everyone who's tried to pollute it never came back the same. Years ago, a young environmental worker named Evelyn Moore discovered the truth. The local chemical plant was poisoning Hollow Creek. She begged them to stop, but greed runs deeper than water. One stormy night, she rushed into the plant, trying to shut off the leaking pipes. And then, boom, an explosion lit up the sky like hell itself. When the fire died, Evelyn was gone. All they found were ashes and a melted badge with her name. Days later, the creek turned black. Fish floated belly up, and at night, people swore they saw a woman's shadow rising from the water. Her eyes glowing through the mist, her skin dripping ash. One worker dipped his hand in the creek, not knowing he had just signed his death warrant. Next morning, his skin blistered with black fingerprints that wouldn't wash off. They say Evelyn's spirit still guards the creek she died to protect. Every ripple is a whisper, every reflection her warning. And if you ever see smoke drifting across still water, don't look too close, because the Ash Lady is still watching. Did you know in 1947 a photographer named Elliot Crane captured a picture so terrifying that the town that hired him burned every copy? He was sent to photograph the ruins left by the drought. Ghost towns, empty churches, places swallowed by dust. But one night, he found the Bellamy House, a mansion locals swore was cursed. They said, anyone who looks into its mirrors never looks away again. Elliot didn't listen. He stepped inside. The air heavy, the walls breathing. In the corner stood a cracked mirror, clean as if waiting for him. He raised his camera. Click. A flash. And behind him, a figure. Pale skin. Hollow eyes, grinning wide enough to tear. But when he turned, no one was there. When he developed the photo, he saw faces, dozens of them, twisted, screaming, all staring from that same mirror. Days later, they found his camera in the dirt. The last photo, Elliot inside the mirror, smiling back. And they say, if lightning flashes while you're looking in a mirror, don't blink. You might not see your face anymore. Did you know, in the scorching summer of 1947, a small Texas town was dying of thirst? The earth split open, animals rotted where they fell, and the smell of death hung over every field. One man, Harlan Briggs, prayed every night for rain, but what came wasn't heaven's mercy. One night, thunder rolled without clouds. Harlan stumbled into his field and found a single green sprout rising from soil soaked in blood. The next morning, his crops were alive again, but his wife was gone. Only her wedding ring remained, buried among the roots. The whispers came next. They called to him from the corn, soft, hungry voices saying, "Feed us, Harlan, feed us flesh." At first, he offered animals, then strangers, then anyone who asked where the water came from. Neighbors noticed his corn glistened red under the sun, each stalk thick as bone. They thought it was a miracle, and they found what grew beneath. Faces twisted and half buried, mouths open as if still screaming. By autumn, Harlan was gone. The field stood tall, alive, swaying to a wind that smelled like meat. And they say, if you walk near the old Briggs farm today, the ground still breathes. Beneath the soil, something is still bleeding. Did you know sometimes the things we leave behind and never truly forgotten? Mia found an old porcelain doll in the attic. Its cracked face and faded dress seeming harmless, but by morning it had moved just a little closer to her bed. She told herself it was the wind or her imagination. Night after night, it crept nearer. Shadows in her room twisted unnaturally. Whispers filled the silence, soft at first, urgent, calling her name. Every corner of the room seemed alive, watching. Her heart raced, each creak of the floorboard echoing like a warning. She tried to hide it, lock it away, but the doll always returned, always closer, always staring. One night, she finally reached for it. Its glassy eyes locked with hers, cold, empty, and merciless. A chill ran through her, freezing her in place. Not just waiting, it had been planning. Some say dolls hold memories. Some say they hold souls. And some hold something far worse. Now, every flicker of the lights, every shadow in her room whispers the same terrifying truth. You're never alone in your own home. Did you know two green-skinned children once appeared out of nowhere in a quiet English village? No one knew their names, their language, or what world they came from. It was the 12th century. Farmers heard soft cries coming from an old wolf pit and found two small figures crawling out, their skin pale green, their eyes wide with fear. The air turned cold. Even the birds stopped singing. They wouldn't eat bread or meat, only raw beans. They screamed at sunlight, whispering strange words no one could understand. Days later, the boy's colour began to fade, his eyes dimming. That night, villagers swore they heard bells echoing through the mist. The girl survived and learned to speak. She said they came from a land of eternal twilight, a place where the sun never rose and everything glowed green. She and her brother followed the sound of bells into a cave, but when they stepped out, the light burned their eyes, and the way home was gone. Years later, as she lay dying, her voice trembled. Can you hear them? The bells. They're calling me back. Microphone hash mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Only remembered. Did you know In 1947, a Texas family vanished overnight, leaving their dinner still warm on the table, forks mid-air, candles still burning, but no one left to blow them out. They were the Burroughs family, and their farmhouse sat miles from anyone. When the sheriff arrived, he found the front door locked from the inside, chairs overturned, and claw marks down the hallway. Human and desperate. For weeks, the father, Thomas Burroughs, had been digging a well behind the house. He told neighbors he could hear something down there, something moving. That night, he kept digging, even after the sun went down. The neighbors heard screams. Then, a strange low humming, deep, mechanical, coming from the earth itself. By morning, the Burroughs were gone. When deputies searched the house, they found muddy footprints leading to the well and stopping right at the edge. Inside, the walls weren't dirt. They were smooth, black stone, carved with twisting symbols that pulsed when the flashlight hit them. They filled it with concrete. But on hot summer nights, locals where they still hear it, that same hum, like metal grinding under the soil. And if you stand too close, the ground vibrates like something alive, still waiting to come back up. Did you know there's a creek in Hollow County where the water breathes smoke? Locals call it the Ash Lady's Creek because everyone who's trying to pollute it never came back the same. Years ago, a young environmental worker named Evelyn Moore discovered the truth. The local chemical plant was poisoning Hollow Creek. She begged them to stop, but greed runs deeper than water. One stormy night, she rushed into the plant, trying to shut off the leaking pipes, and then, boom, an explosion lit up the sky like hell itself. When the fire died, Evelyn was gone. All they found were ashes and a melted bag floated belly up, and at night people swore they saw a woman's shadow rising from the water, her eyes glowing through the mist, her skin dripping ash. One worker dipped his hand in the creek, not knowing he had just signed his death warrant. The next morning, his skin blistered with black fingerprints that wouldn't wash off. They say Evelyn's spirit still guards the creek she died to protect. Every ripple is a whisper. Every reflection, her warning. And if you ever see smoke drifting across still water, don't look too close, because the ash lady is still watching. Did you know in 1947 a photographer named Elliot Crane captured a picture so terrifying that I had him burned every copy. He was sent to photograph the ruins left by the drought. Ghost towns, churches, places swallowed by dust. But one night, he found the Bell House, a mansion local swore was cursed. They said anyone who looks into its mirrors never looks away again. It didn't listen. He stepped inside. The air heavy, the walls breathing. In the corner stood a cracked mirror, clean as if waiting for him. He raised his camera. Click. A flash. And behind him, a figure, pale skin, hollow eyes, grinning wide enough to stare. But when he turned, no one was there. When he developed the photo, he saw faces, dozens of them, twisted, screaming, all staring from that same mirror. Days later, they found his camera in the dirt. The last photo, Elliot inside the mirror, smiling back. And they say, if lightning flashes while you're looking in a mirror, don't blink. You might see your face anymore. Did you know, in the scorching summer of 1947, a small Texas town was dying of thirst? The earth split open, animals rotted where they fell, and the smell of death hung over every field. One man, Harlan Briggs, prayed every night for rain. But what came wasn't heaven's mercy. One night, thunder rolled without clouds. Harlan stumbled into his field and found a single grain sprout rising from soil soaked blood. The next morning, his crops were alive again. His wife was gone. Only her wedding ring remained buried among the roots. The whispers came next. They called to him from the corn. Soft, hungry voices saying, "Feed us, Harlan. Feed us flesh." At first, he offered animals, then strangers, then anyone who asked where the water came from. Neighbors noticed his corn glistened red under the sun, each stalk thick as bone. They thought it was a miracle until they found what grew beneath. Faces twisted and half buried, mouths open as if still screaming. By autumn, Harlan was gone. The fields stood tall, alive, swaying to a wind that smelled like meat. And they say, if you walk near the old Briggs farm today, the ground still breathes. Beneath the soil, something is still bleeding. Did you know? Sometimes the things we leave behind and never truly forgotten. Mere old porcelain doll in the attic. Its cracked face and faded dress seeming harmless. But by morning, it had moved just a little closer to her bed. She told herself it was the wind or her imagination. Night after night, it crept nearer. Shadows in her room twisted unnaturally. Whispers filled the silence, soft at first and urgent, calling her name. Every corner of the room seemed alive, watching. Her heart raced. Each creak of the floorboard echoing like a warning. She tried to hide it, lock it away, but the doll always returned, always closer, always staring. One night, she finally reached for it. Its glassy eyes locked with hers, cold, empty, and merciless. A chill ran through her, freezing her in place. Not just waiting, it had been planning. Some say dolls hold memories. Some say they hold souls. And some hold something far worse. Now, every flicker of the lights, every shadow in her room whispers the same terrifying truth. You're never alone in your own home. Did you know two green-skinned children once appeared out of nowhere in a quiet English village? No one knew their names, their language, or what world they came from. It was the 12th century. Farmers heard soft cries coming from an old wolf pit and found two small figures crawling out, their skin pale green, their eyes wide with fear. The air turned cold. Even the bird stopped singing. wouldn't eat bread or meat, only raw beans. They screamed at sunlight, whispering strange words no one could understand. Days later, the colour began to fade. His eyes dimming. That night, villagers swore they heard bells echoing through the mist. The girl survived and learned to speak. She said they came from a land of eternal twilight, a place where the sun never rose, and everything glowed green. She and her brother followed the sound of bells into a cave. But when they stepped out, the light burned their eyes, and the way home was gone. Years later, as she lay dying, her voice trembled. Can you hear them? The bells. They're calling me back. My microphone hash mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only remembered. You know, in 1947, a Texas family vanished overnight, leaving their dinner still warm on the table, forks mid-air, candles still burning. No one left to blow them out. They were the Burroughs family, and their farmhouse sat miles from anyone. When the sheriff arrived, he found the front door locked from the inside, chairs overturned, and claw marks down the hallway. Human and desperate. For weeks, the father, Thomas Burroughs, had been digging a well behind the house. He told neighbours he could hear something down there, something moving. That night he kept digging, even after the sun went down. The neighbours heard screams. Then a strange low hum